Hello to everybody watching. My name is Yolanda Bynum. I happen to be the owner and manager of this particular page, Waiting as a Single Christian. I am here today with my awesome sister in Christ, sister in general, and friend of 20 plus years. She's been around me for a while, y'all. Her name is Althea Richardson, and I will give her an opportunity to introduce herself to you guys.
Hey, you guys, like she said, my name is Althea Richardson. I am the founder and CEO of WOVE, which stands for Women of Vision and Excellence. And my goal and mission is to inspire, encourage, and uplift women and the men who love them to becoming all that they were predestined to be. And it starts with restoration. So we're going to get into a conversation, y'all. My friend of 20 years, we have been having some really interesting conversations. Just to give a little bit of background about me, I was married for 18 years, and in November of 2019, my husband passed away from a heart attack. And so it's been a journey. It's been an interesting journey, and I'm at peace at this time now, and because I know where he is, and that's all good. But I posted a question maybe it was about a couple of weeks ago in regards to, okay, I was married for 18 years, and now I'm single. What do I do now? Because the single life now is cray-cray, for real.
COVID crazy.
It's COVID crazy, crazy, pre-COVID crazy. And so we have been having a conversation about what it means to be single as a believer in Jesus Christ. And from what my sister has shared with me, you all got some questions, and that's what we're here to do, is to answer them to the best of our ability, at least based on our own individual experiences. So what you got, Yolanda?
Absolutely. And I will say right then, that's a great lead in. If there are any comments or questions that come up as anyone is listening to this, please feel free to pop them in. She and I will take a look at them, and she and I will answer those. Althea happens also to be a counselor. She don't put that out there, but she's a counselor.
Yeah, I forgot that part.
And she's a life coach. She, it's in her. It's in the blood. It's flowing. So she's a counselor and a life coach. So she has helped me a lot on this journey, a lot. And I thought that her input would be invaluable. The very first thing I think that we should start with is how we became single. So Althea just mentioned how she became single. This guy, I knew him. We both knew him for a while, and he treated Althea like any and all Christian women should aspire to be treated like. She was treated like a queen, which kind of set the stage for her single journey and what she is doing now as a single Christian. I myself, my journey was a little bit more twisted. It was a little bit more twisted. I am a divorcee. I ended up being divorced from a guy that I knew since I was 12 years old. And we were married for 13 years. So I knew him from 12. We got married at 23 and divorced about 13 years later. So that's a long time to know someone. He was a very, very close friend of mine. I'm not going to get into the specifics of why the divorce happened. I'm not going to say was his fault, even though it was. I'm not going to say it was his fault. I will just say the Lord saw fit to remove me from that marriage because of a lot of things that were going on with my ex-husband at the time. I will go on to say the Lord probably saved my life, removing me from that particular marriage. Because of the negative things that were going on in the marriage, and Althea walked me through a lot of that, there was a lot of healing that had to take place from some of the things that came out of the marriage. So I became single because of a divorce in quite a few ways. I hate to use the word abusive, but there was a little bit of that going on, unfortunately. Okay, she's like, just say it.
It is what it is.
That's what was going on in there.
That's exactly what it is.
That's what was going on in there. So instead of taking the time to heal from all of that, what your girl did was she tried to fill the time with those that could affirm her after the hurt that she experienced in her marriage, which is absolutely not the way that you are supposed to kick off your single journey. Your single journey is supposed to be to get reconnected and closer to God and to heal from those things that separated you in the first place. So, Althea, I'll jump back over to you. What are your thoughts? You walked me through it. You saw a lot of it.
Yeah. So with me, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna date back myself, because prior to being married, and my husband that passed, he was my second marriage. So I too have experienced divorce. I have also experienced crazy relationships, making really, really, really bad decisions. And it got to the point where I had to discover who I am. I can actually pinpoint the day, and Yolanda, I don't think you really realize this, but on the day that I knew that I had to just stop and discover who I am was the day that I walked out of the courtroom after the gavel was hit, and they said, you are divorced and everything. And right then and there, I broke down in a way that was like ridiculous. I was just like, God, I have gone through all these crazy divorces. I have given myself to men that did not deserve me. And here I am again. I did not want to be a part of a statistic. I did not want to be that person that was divorced. I didn't want that title. And yet that was what happened to me. So on that day, I went home after you and I had kind of a celebratory
She free, Jesus.
lunch.
She free.
Yeah, I was free. I was free from a lot of things, because that marriage that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But I went home that day and I was toe up from the flow up. God, I don't understand. My heart's desire is to have a family and to have children. And I just poured myself out to God on that day. If y'all remember the days of the CDs, because I don't even think they exist anymore. The days of the CDs they had the carousel, the ones that had the carousel. Now I'm really telling my age. They had the carousel, girl.
I got you.
Yeah, that one. And I had the one where you can put 8 CDs on that mug, for real.
Okay, I got you. You was fancy. You was fancy.
Yeah, I was fancy. I had the 8 one. So I had CDs already on there, and most of them were worship music. And my thing had always been, when I want to just submerge myself in the Lord, is just turn on that carousel CD player and just let the music minister to me. And it never failed. Every song that played on there ministered to my spirit. I was on my floor crying, boo-hoo. I'm talking snot. I'm talking the whole 9 yards, while God was ministering to my spirit. And when I got finished on that day, I was free. I had made the decision right then and there that I was going to do nothing but serve God and focus on Him totally, because every time I looked in other directions, looking at other people, other men to come into my life and satisfy that empty hole that I felt on a consistent basis, that yearning to be with somebody, obviously, it never worked out.
Right.
But when I made that conscious decision totally and fully that I was going to give everything to God and just focus on Him, my life changed from that day. And then, long story short, my king arises. Yeah. And this girl here was the one that told me he was my husband, and I was in complete denial, for real.
Like, nah, you got that wrong, fam. No, it ain't. Yeah. I remember her saying, nope. I'm done. It's me and Jesus. That's it. Me and
That's
Jesus is it. I don't need nothing else. And I was like, no, you have children coming. Now, I think this is important. This is an important fact. Can you please share how old you were at that moment in time? Because I think this is important for some of our single sisters that may be at a particular point in their lives. So how old were you?
At the time, I was in my mid-30s.
Okay.
Because and up all the way up to that time, I was like focusing on the first husband. I was focusing on trying to make it work and try to make it happen. And you know, I'm gonna even throw this in here. This how I knew that God said that He was only gonna be temporary on my first husband. His last name was the same as mine. I didn't have to change my last name.
Same name.
And for the record, no, we were not related at all.
Oh, somebody thinking that right now. I feel it. I felt it in my spirit.
It was like wait a minute,
yeah, cousins?
were they related? No, we were not related. We double, triple, quadruple checked. We were not related in any way, shape, or form. But this how I know God was doing something, because when that thing didn't work out, I still walked away with my name.
Right.
Intact. Because God had another person in mind for me that was going to give me a new name and a new life and a new way of love in a way that I would have never expected at all. 18 years.
And at the time, Miss Althea wanted kids. She wanted kids.
Yes.
Even though she didn't want the man at the time, she wanted kids.
Yeah.
Don't do this, sis. We need the man too. So I remember her late husband coming on the scene, and she said no at first. I'll never forget where he saw her. He was like, I think, we need to we need to go and sit down and talk. And I was like, oh my gosh, y'all gonna get married? And she was like, no, that was her answer. No.
Straight up, no.
I see it, and I see the kids. And she's like, wait a minute, do you know how old I am? No again. No. And I was like, yes, ma'am. Y'all got kids, and y'all got the restoration that happened in my sister's life. You would think, watching it, that would have been my mirror, my ruler, the way I would have done things. I think that when you did it the right way. Now let's talk about the wrong way. I think that when you get to a place where you get out of a relationship that pulled so much out of you, the very first thing that you want to do is distract yourself from the pain. And you'll distract yourself from the pain by jumping in and out of other relationships where a man will make you feel temporarily fulfilled. 90% of the time, the fulfillment comes from the physical. It's not from, or some of the emotional as well. Men also tap into the emotional. So they're hitting things that are mental, they're hitting things that are emotional. And the thing about that is that will never fill you up. It will never fill you up. So you have to go back and get another hit, and then another hit, and then another hit. And whatever it was that took you away from godliness and God in the first place, if it's taking you away from God, that's not a situation that you need to be involved in the first place. If it's taking you away from God in your singleness, in that zeal and that zest to make yourself whole again. If I could have changed one thing, that is the one thing I would have changed. In that, and it's a slippery slope, because I have a 23, 21, and that 12-year-old. So that 12-year-old came right around that same time period. It's a slippery slope, because if I would have been doing things right, my 12-year-old may not have been here. It's a crazy thing to think about when me and God have conversations about it. Obviously, the little dude was in his will, but I still have to take a step back and say, I should have done things completely different. I should have focused 100% on him. But I wasn't focused on him. I was focused on me and me only. And it wasn't even a physical thing. For me, it was emotional. It was affirmation after being beat down so much mentally, emotionally, metaphysically, in every way that you can think of. If a woman is being beat down by a man or by other outside forces, it is very difficult for her to know who she is. Yeah. And she will find that identity in the wrong things. She'll find the identity in romantic stories that you see on TV. She'll find it in the man that whispers in her ear that says the right thing just to let her guard down. You'll see it on the internet in that couple that just met 15 minutes ago and now they're engaged to be married, and they look so happy when you don't know what's going on in their house. You'll find it in absolutely the wrong things if you are not careful. So for any folks out there that are newly single, or even you've been single for a while, I was telling Althea by the time, and I actually blogged on this a little while ago, by the time I got 4 years in, I looked up and I was like, okay, I'm holding my bachelor's in singleness now. And I expected for the Lord just to drop my man of God out of the clouds. After I achieved my bachelor's, I'd walk across the stage. All right, Lord, I think I'm ready. You know, I'm finally focused on you. I'm doing everything right. I took the classes. I got the books. And then I looked up 2 years later and I got my master's. I'm like, now I got my master's. Summa cum laude. I'm doing good, Lord. I think that I'm ready. I'm a wife. I'm a wife, Father. You told me what I needed to do. I think I got my stuff together. And then I blinked and I'm like a PhD. I'm like, okay, so did I miss something? Is something wrong? Is something broken? My sister Althea, though, told me that she is in a completely different place in her journey. So before I share kind of what happened after that 10-year point, tell them where you are now in your current journey as a single Christian.
Yeah. So in my current journey,
I'll just say it shocked me. It shocked me.
So, like I said a couple of weeks ago, I had posted a question in regards to being single, having been in a marriage for well over 18 years. But in my thought process at that time, I had to also go way back to the beginnings of relationships that were crappy, and the reason why those were crappy. And it goes back even further than that when, and I don't have a problem sharing this, that it's the seed that was initially planted, which was a family member that had molested me at the age of 5. And then going forward, trying to find that same feeling in other people and in other relationships, and still not understanding who I am and whose I am. And then jumping into relationships because I hear this person say, ooh, you're so pretty, and let me do this and that. And I've dated a lot of nice looking guys, but them nice looking guys were jokers for real. They were jokers. They talk the talk, walk the walk. They did all the things that you want as a woman to hear. You want to hear them say that you're beautiful and blah, 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 and all of this, and they wine and dine you. But at the end of the day, it comes down to one thing, and that's getting the panties. Let's be real about this. That's what it came down to.
That's it.
And I would, because I'm thinking, low self-esteem of mine, I'm thinking that was the thing to do. Because
and that's how to keep them too.
Like,
knock it out.
That's how you keep. And so I did the do and thought I was doing what I thought was the best thing to do to keep a relationship. But lo and behold, every time that you give yourself to that person that you're not married to, you're giving yourself a piece of yourself each and every time. And you're associating yourself with somebody who may have been with 4, 5, 6, 10, 12, hundreds of other people that I'm just saying, they probably lost count. I don't know.
Run out of hand, out of fingers.
Run out of hand. So fast forward, and I'm still dealing with a low self-esteem and everything. But when I going all the way up to the point where I said, you know what, After I've gotten sick and tired of being sick and tired, after I've given myself to all these people and not received anything that fulfilled me, that those individuals that did not have my best interest at heart, I was left broken. And I had to understand the reality of it is that I can do nothing without God. I don't care what you say, what you do. I don't care how nice that man smells or whatever. He is not for you. You need to seek God first. His word says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things. And things also include the man or woman of your life.
Absolutely.
And so fast forwarding now to being a single woman after having lost my husband of 18 years, the man of God who treated me like a queen, who said the right things and backed up what he said and did the things that he said he would do and loved me unconditionally, even with the craziness that I experienced in my life. Again, that's another topic for another show, because I know there's some other people that there may be some women out there that made decisions in their life that they regret. That'll be another topic. But having gone through all of that, and then God sends the true man of God for my life who showed me what it was like to be loved. Now being a single person, I know how to be single because I done been through all of that. Been there, done that. Got a cookie hat, chips, whatever else is in the souvenir shop. I done did that already.
Yes, ma'am.
But I now know what it means to be a woman of God and living single. I am content in the state that I am in today.
And that is not an easy place to be in, to be content before him. I think that my sister God has positioned her to experience love the way that God intended for agape love, true godlike love that comes straight from him down to the one who a man is supposed to esteem his wife like Christ sacrificed, loved, esteemed the church. If Christ treated his bride that way, that's exactly how the man is supposed to esteem and love and sacrifice for his bride. That is what Althea has experienced. Now in her singleness, she has said, I'm not going back to the status quo now that I've experienced true agape love from a man of God who got his cues from God himself. Amen. While we as believers will not take a step back and say, we as the bride of Christ we've experienced his best. Why do we put ourselves in a position then to experience less than his best when we've experienced his best through his sacrifice? Why then did we take 18 steps back and go, okay, I think I'm going to run back out to the world for just a minute, just to be satisfied, just for about 10 or 15 minutes, but then I'm going to be back, God. And then we come back, like you said, with the residue of the world that now has to be washed off, has to be clean. We have to be purged. We usually end up coming back with soul ties and hurts and pains and a lot of other things that God never wanted us to experience.
Right.
In my current journey, tenured now, I'm tenured, PhD, don't forget that, I'm PhD in singleness, but I never thought in a million years that after wanting and desiring not to be married, because that's usually a woman's desire. I just want to be married. I want to be a wife. I want to be a godly wife. God has fashioned and created in me a desire to be submitted under a man of God. He's fashioned me together like that. So I don't want just a wedding. I want to be a wife. I went into my marriage thinking I'm going to love this man for life. He's going to be my husband. I'm going to be his wife. He had the perfect wife from that perspective because I sat there and took any and all things that he did as the loving Christian wife. Why then would God have me sit here single and by myself, waiting and waiting and waiting, and 10 years down the line, still be single? And a lot of people ask that question. That's one of the questions that they ask. Why am I still single? I've said it a couple of times on the site. Usually you are single for one of three reasons. Either you're not ready, and that's typically the reason, unfortunately. Maybe we just go ahead and be real. Usually we are not ready to be in whatever God has for us. So that may mean you're not mature enough. You haven't developed the fruits that it's going to take to walk through it in a godly way. The person that you're supposed to be with is not ready yet. It's not time. You're not ready yet.
Right.
Number two, there is greater glory in your singleness.
Yes.
God has, which is what I honestly think has been the purpose of this long-standing Jesus singleness that I've been in. I think that there was greater glory to be had with me being single than being in a married state. That's a very tough pill to swallow when you think you do married good. When you think, I'm gonna be the bomb at this, Lord. I got you. And if you miss it, you can end up in the wilderness for a whole lot longer than the Lord anticipated you being in, just like the children of Israel, just going in circles and in circles with the same Egypt appetites, waiting, screaming at God. We had it better when we were in the world. That's what we do as singles. I could have still been out there with Rollo. Rollo and me were tight. He was hooking me up. He was giving me money on my bills. And now I'm sitting over here all by myself. We think Egypt was way better than it is being over here single all by myself.
Yeah.
Which brings me to the third point, which is the whole purpose for singleness in the first place. God desires for us to get closer to him before we could ever be close to anyone else. That is the biggest thing there is when it comes to being a single Christian, especially a single Christian. You have no kids, you have no responsibilities, then you have no distractions to being one-on-one with just God before his presence, worshiping and praising and praying and getting in his word every single solitary day. That's what the word says we are supposed to do. Since we are in COVID right now, I think that has kind of changed people's perspective when it comes to relationships and dating and so forth. And it's put people's focus ever more on finding the person that they are supposed to be with, as if God has all of a sudden been caught off guard with COVID. Like, he had, I was going to send, Joey's bride, at the end of 2021, but now with COVID, that just threw my whole timetable. It's not the way God operates. God's timing is God's timing. How do you think COVID has or has not changed things when it comes to singleness and relationships? Because a lot of people think, oh man, how are we gonna find somebody now? We stuck, we inside, quarantine.
Well, I noticed, just out of observation, they actually created like dating apps for people to, like when we were quarantined and everything, they had dating apps where you can at least look at the person and, build a relationship that way. I've also heard where you're able to hook up with somebody that you might have been seeing at one point, and then y'all like quarantined together. I don't understand that part, because if y'all broke up the first time, quarantine ain't gonna make the change. That's not gonna change the relationship whatsoever.
It will make it worse.
My extent on the situation as far as COVID is concerned is kind of limited, because, like I said, I've been content in this. I can be by myself. I can watch Netflix and binge all day, every day. But I know that there are people that have a problem being alone. And so I think even during the COVID time, people had to actually discover what it means to get to know themselves as an individual. Because you're within your own self, you're in your own head by yourself, and you got all these thoughts going on. in your head, including, oh man, I'm single. Oh man, I've been single for X amount of years, 2, 3, 4, 10, 12, however many years it's been, or 6
Right.
months, or whatever.
Or
And now
10
what do I
minutes. Some
do?
people can't
Or
do it. They
10
just
minutes.
can't do it. They like,
Yeah. And so they're all in their head thinking about all this stuff, and they're quarantined and can't go nowhere. So how do you deal with that? I, and I know this is gonna sound crazy to folks, but I think no, I believe that quarantine was for a reason. I believe that COVID was for a reason. The reason
mm-hmm.
why I say that is because it brought people back to reality. You gonna need God.
Oh,
And and God said, look, I'm gonna have you all, everybody's gonna just sit on down and you quarantined in your house. You can't go nowhere. And you ain't gonna have no
nowhere.
other choice but to get to know, not only get to know
Woo.
me on a personal level, but if you're married, you're gonna get to know your husband on a real for
Mm.
real. Because
Mm-hmm.
there's some relationships, even in marriage, they never talk.
Mm.
Now they ain't have no other choice but to talk
None.
to each other.
I've heard some stories.
And
Oh, hilarious. Sorry, keep going.
oh, okay.
I'm
And
here.
so with that in mind, COVID has basically brought people to get to know themselves, like I said,
Yeah.
on personally, and discover some things about themselves that they didn't know. Um, and but what I've seen, like I said, with the apps and all of this stuff, it's just filling a void. It's
It's filling a
madness,
void. It's filling a
crazy.
void. If we are honest, and the word pretty much gives us the formula on
Mm-hmm.
what things to think on. Lovely, honest, true, worthy of a good report. If it's praiseworthy, think on these things. I think the word is awesome when it comes to what to do to make sure we have peace. That means if we're not thinking on things that are lovely, honest, true, of a good report, if it's praiseworthy, if we're not thinking on those things. So if we're thinking, I'm 42, I'm 38, I'm 25, I don't have kids. I do have kids, but I want them to be out my house. I have not found my man yet. Look, she got married and she just got out of a relationship and now she married. And if I have to see one more picture of them booed up, they look so happy. You're thinking on everything. That's not praiseworthy
Right.
unless your mind is in the right place. Now, if you're looking at a couple who happens to be online, I will admit I'm one of those people. Before, I was not one of those people that was like, oh, it's beautiful. They are posting yet another picture of themselves. They have on matching shirts. They have a little heart. Oh, so beautiful. No, I was like, why are y'all here on my timeline? Why? Do y'all ever not post pictures? Ma'am, I just saw y'all. Y'all still here. Okay. All right. Can't deal with all this happiness. I'm gonna need them to get into an argument, put that on Facebook. That was me. That was a long time ago. It irked me a tad to see happiness because I was single. I have since changed my standpoint and my viewpoint. So now when I see them, I'm like, praise God, Jesus, I just want to lift up Bob and Sue right now. They are quarantined. They are in their houses all by themselves every day. Their children are grown. Lord, I just pray that they do not strangle one another. I pray that Susan don't
Yeah.
pick up no pots today, Jesus. I pray that Bob does everything that he can do to help. I mean, I'm praying for them.
Yeah.
Now, focusing on that, now it is praiseworthy because I'm rejoicing with them that rejoice as opposed to being bitter and sad and despondent. To that point, Althea talked about the things that she is doing right now because she is content. I
Mm-hmm.
think that is where God wants us to be, is in a constant state of contentment, whether I'm abased or abound, whether I have everything that I need or whether there is a need. I am continually content before God because I know if I'm walking according to his will, big caveat, you have to be walking according to his will, then you know he is not going to have you anywhere that is outside of his will. There's nothing that is going to be done arbitrary in your life.
Yeah.
Everything has a purpose if you are walking according to his will. If you're not, this is a good time to align yourself. But if
Yeah.
you are, that means regardless of how long you're single, there's a purpose for it. And people may not want to release that control or that ideal of when I need to exchange the gift of singleness for the gift of marriage. They may want their own ideal and their own control to say, well, I've been single for 5 years. That's enough. I say that's enough. God is blinking. I think I'm ready. When God is the ultimate decider in our faith, in our fate, in our steps. They're ordered by him. We don't lean into our own understanding. Knowing these things, we should rest. We should be at peace that we will not miss it if we're walking according to his will, that there is nothing out there that we are missing. I don't care if Bob and Sue are happy. That's not my story. So I shouldn't be tripping that they're happy. I shouldn't be tripping if a friend ends up meeting someone, because that's not my story. But that also means when it does become my story, oh Lord, there's going to be a testimony, a humongous testimony. Exactly. Can you imagine, after being single for 10 years, what in the world God has on the other side of that? And Althea knows this. I've been talking to this guy who popped up pretty much out of nowhere, to be honest. It's pretty overwhelming to watch a man of God drop into your life that says everything that God says he should say, does everything that God says that he should do, acts how God says that he should act, and you're going,
yeah, wait a minute, what? That's a trick question, right?
It makes you realize why God kept you locked up for some. He had me locked up, y'all. Let me tell you, I could not buy a man to look in this direction outside of foolishness. And I knew how to shut that down immediately. But there were no serious men of God that were coming before me at all. For the better part of that time, there was nobody. And I started going, they gone. God got them on back order, or there's no more left. He's out. He's out of men of God. Yeah. Ask him to check the back. They're gone.
Yeah.
But they're there. I've talked to a lot of men of God on this Waiting as a Single Christian site, and they are there. They think the same thing. They think the women are broken. They think that God has run out of the good ones. They think that the only ones that are left are the women that are looking for, a sponsor instead of a husband. And I'm serious. A sponsor, ma'am. Somebody who picking this up as a job and not a marriage. I mean, it's crazy out there in them COVID streets. You hear me? It was. So there's a young man, nicest young man on the planet. He is in his early 20s. So he's about 21, 22 years old, Hispanic male, loves God. And brother man and I were having a really good conversation about singleness. And he straight up said, Georgia, I just think that the conveyor belt is broken. I think that God was sending them out and it just got stuck. I think it got stuck. And the women fall off. They fall off and they're gone. They're gone. And I was gosh. Bruh, no. There's women of God out there, I promise you. Not in my age group. They're gone. They're gone. The 20s, they're broken. They hussies, Jolanda. They hussies. So there are men that also think that there's no women of God left. Okay, that there's none left. So women, we are not the only ones that believe that there's no men of God. I guarantee you, not only are there men of God left, if it be his will, the man that God has predestinated, fashioned, created just for you, he is out there. But the longer we fight against where God wants us to be as we are leaving that single state, the longer we fight it, the longer it is going to take for that person to find you.
Yes. Amen.
Your thoughts.
Amen.
Your thoughts on that.
You know what? You said everything. You pretty much said everything. But here's the thing, because I think we should end it here, because we want people to come back and get
Yes,
more
ma'am. I'm sorry. We'll
information.
talk
We
forever.
want people, no. We want people to come back. And because I know there's going to, after this, there's going to be a lot of questions. There's going to
Yes, ma'am.
be a lot of stuff that, you know, I just, okay, I got the information. Now what do I do? And
Indeed.
so I think that
it's a good
ending
time.
it here would be really good.
Okay.
One thing I want to say to individuals that are out there, I will be on the page as well, working alongside Yolanda, answering any questions. I also offer the option of, if there are, because you know Yolanda and I have talked about this. I've helped her out. She's helped me out in different situations. If you find that you're dating somebody and you ain't sure about this dude, let's have a conversation about it. Let's talk about it. You know,
you got that right.
Let's be real about it, because you know,
you got that right.
Somebody on the outside looking in can probably give you a little bit better insight on this versus you face to face on this with this person, and all you see is, I'm in love. But let a good situation come in. Let a circumstance, a situation pop up. That's when you find out the real person. So there are certain things that I'll ask you as we're having a conversation about this person that you're dating, or what type of person are you looking for? I mean,
I agree.
I'm telling you guys, I have been there, done that, everything, all of that, and I've seen it all across the board. There's no limits to what I can help you with. I promise you. Guys, how can they, send the questions or anything? How can they get some help after they see this video, Yolanda?
As you're watching this video, if you have questions, please go ahead and type them. If you've listened to this whole thing and questions have come up, feel free to either go ahead and jot it right down there in the post in the comments, or just send a message to the Waiting as a Single Christian mailbox. I will be monitoring those. I will make sure that those also get to Althea, because I think in this day and age, we need all of the support, not only the support, sincerely, the Christian support. In a multitude of counselors, there's safety. And I don't mean counselors as in necessarily, somebody sitting back in a chair going, so tell me about your childhood. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those that are there that can give you sound wisdom, biblical wisdom, based on where we have been. And where we're going, because it's still a journey. So please drop those either in the comments, send a note to the inbox. We will be checking those. I want to say to Althea, this will not be the last conversation that we have. She and I don't want to say we have 20 years of dialogue to get out. What I will say is, based upon some of the conversations that we've had of late, I don't think there's enough people talking about this from a biblical point of view. I've seen so many, single, and it's a beautiful state and everything is lovely. It's flowers. And I've said before, that is not my testimony. It has not been flowers and beautiful and, uninterrupted time with God where I'm always happy. No. I love God. I spend time with God. I pray hourly. I was going to say daily. It's way more than that. I listen to music and Jesus all the time. And it can be a struggle as a person in this day and age to be single. So I want you to be real about questions that you may have, like bluntly real, if there are questions that you have, because I guarantee you there's nothing that me and Althea have not heard. And in some cases experienced. I mean, you may be thinking, oh man, not them. Try us.
Oh, trust. I got stories. I got stories upon stories. I've actually decided to write my story because it had to be it had to be
You
written,
have a
and
story.
that I'll talk
Whew.
about that another time because it is scheduled to be out this year.
Yes,
With
man,
a lot of
that is
other women that
awesome. That's
Black
beautiful.
women that have experienced some things in life, but they are now
That's awesome.
successful in
Oh,
their walk as well. So
can't
that's
wait for that.
to be announced later on. But I can honestly tell you again, I've been there, I've done that. I know I've had all of the crazy relationships. I there's just not enough words to describe. So there is nothing new under the sun. Trust.
Mm.
So,
Say
guys,
it, say it.
let's do this.
Send them. Yeah, send them. Be
Listen.
real. And if there's something that you want to hear us talk about, honestly, go ahead and let us know. There's a couple of topics that we have on the agenda for the next time we do this. We are looking at doing this once a week and releasing something as the Lord wills.
Yes.
If it needs to be a little bit more often, we can do that. I don't think either one of us will have a problem filling up some time on some of these things, as you can see. But we are here for you. Again, the whole purpose of the page is to help us wait, not as the world waits, but as single Christians with a divine
Amen.
purpose in our singleness. It should always be about purpose. And that
Amen.
should not change when you transition and exchange one gift for another.
Amen.
Again, it should be about purpose. So, Althea, thank you very much for being here.
I look forward to the next session. Y'all better
Absolutely.
be ready.
Be ready. So, my fellow singles in the faith, be ready. And again, if you have any questions, shoot them over to us.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.